For the last 3 days against the A's, the Rangers have faced American League's hottest team. Starting tonight, the challenge is even greater as Texas begins a 7-game road trip against the Toronto Blue Jays and baseball's most prolific offense, averaging over 5 runs per game. It's the Rangers and the Jays from the Rogers Center, coming up next. Is presented by AT&T Uverse TV. Well, in the shadow of the CN Tower is Rogers Center in downtown Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Tonight is Game 1 of the weekend series between your Rangers and the host Toronto Blue Jays. And welcome in, everyone, along with Tom Green, Steve Busby. Glad you could join us for this Friday night of Rangers baseball. Rangers try to get back on the winning side of things and snap that 5-game losing streak. They are in a place now, not necessarily Toronto, but on the road, where, Tom, they've played much better this year so far.
Yeah, it's unusual this far into the season, Buzz, that we would be talking about a team that was playing so well on the road and not so well at home. They played a hot team in the Oakland A's. You don't want to make excuses, but it just seems over the last 3 or 4 weeks, every single game, it's a hot team or a #1 starter. And now they're on the road where they've played much better. They're 22-17 on the road. They've scored well. They've pitched well. The problem is they're playing the highest scoring team in baseball in their home park, so that'll be a challenge.
It will be a challenge, but I think the Rangers are up to it. You saw that 18-10 mark. That's the best in baseball since the end of April on the road. So Rangers will try to get things going here tonight behind Nick Martinez. We'll come back with the starting lineups for the first pitch right after this on Fox Sports Southwest. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now for great deals on America's best-selling brand. Ford is the best in Texas. By AT&T Uverse TV. Ubers has more live TV channels on the go than cable. By Budweiser, make a plan to make it home. And by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. Well, a gorgeous evening here north of the border in Toronto, Canada. Rangers and Blue Jays getting set to play under an open roof at Rogers Center. Before we get things started, let's send it down to the field and check in with John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, Nick Martinez on the mound, as you know, tonight. And the last time out, he had a loss on the road. It was his very first one. He's 3-1 on the road with a 1.69 ERA. So I wondered, how do you like it preparing after a loss? Are you more anxious after a loss to get back on the mound or more anxious after a win?
If I had to choose, I'd say after a bad outing, I'm more anxious to get back out there, just anxious to get back on the right foot. And, you know, it's almost like I'm anxious but excited, you know, after a bad outing to get out there because I want to get out there so bad. But, you know, after a good outing, I definitely like to get out there too and just keep it rolling.
Ironically, the last outing wasn't that bad. He retired 16 of the last 17 he faced, but he had a bad third inning when the White Sox scored 3 runs. Rangers suffered the loss, and so did Nick for the first time on the road this season. He's trying to turn that around against the Blue Jays tonight, guys.
All right, John, thank you. That's a 68-degree evening here, Fahrenheit, at 20 degrees Celsius for all of those of you keeping it score at home. Northeast wind about 1 mile an hour and 50% humidity under clear skies in Toronto. Now, Tom's going to tell you now about the Texas Rangers Southwest Airlines starting lineup.
Shin-Soo Choo leads off in right field. Ryan Rua is playing left field. Prince Fielder's the DH. Adrian Beltre is the cleanup hitter, playing third base. Mitch Moreland bats fifth at first base. Elvis Andrus will bat sixth, followed by the second baseman, Rougned Odor. Batting eighth is the center fielder, Leonis Martin. And batting ninth, Robinson Chirinos, the catcher.
And that lineup will be tasked with facing one of the craftiest left-handers going in baseball, and that would be Mark Buehrle. I'll tell you more about Mark in just a second as Shin-Soo Choo gets ready to step in to get things underway here tonight. Choo back in the leadoff spot after getting back into the lineup after the back spasm sidelined him for a couple of games, and he takes strike one. The scouting report from Mark Buehrle, the ultimate crafty left-hander. Fastball, cutter, curveball. He will change speeds on every one of them, and his control when he is on is impeccable. Threw a no-hitter against the Rangers back in 2007. Added a perfect game against Tampa Bay in 2009. And he is very quickly ahead of the count to Shin-Soo Choo and a ball and 2 strikes. Buehrle, 14 consecutive years of over 200 innings pitched. And also multiple, I should say, double-digit wins, and he gets the strikeout as that cutter came back to the inside corner, and Choo caught looking.
Yeah, I think that's one stat, Buzz, you have to like as much as anything about Buehrle, regardless of the success he's had on the mound. The fact that he's never been on the disabled list and he's thrown 200 innings every single year. That's pretty amazing, and now in today's game for sure.
So 1 out, here's Ryan Rua, and he takes strike one. Rua hitting at 189, a home run and an RBI. The young left fielder trying to get his bearings back after spending some time on the disabled list with that fractured heel and the surgery to correct the fracture. Getting a shot at the number 2 spot tonight behind Shin-Soo Choo. That changeup floats over the outside corner. 1-2.
One thing you also want to note against Buehrle is what kind of strike zone the umpire has, because if he's got a wide strike zone, then it really plays into Burley's hand.
Ryan Rua got a pretty good look at 3 of the pitches that Buehrle features, all of them perfectly executed. Let's take a look at the Blue Jays defense tonight behind Mark Buehrle. Carrera in left, Pilar is in center, and Bautista is in right. Colabello at first, Travis and Reyes up the middle, Josh Donaldson at third, and Russell Martin behind the plate. First ball swinging, Prince Fielder hits it out of play to the left. It is 0-1. Fielder 344 with the average. 1 for 4 in just a handful of matchups against Mark Buehrle. There's a drive, high and deep to right field. Bautista back at the wall. Goodbye. Prince Fielder, for just his second time this month, homers, and the Rangers lead it 1-0.
It looked like a fastball, maybe middle to the inside part of the plate. Prince didn't get all of it for the big guy, but he got enough of it to get it out of this ballpark. Trying to throw it inside. Well, he got it inside. Probably not even a strike. Up a little bit, about belt high. And he got enough of the good part of the bat on it to ride it out of here, about 365 feet maybe.
That wasn't a terrible sound. That didn't sound like a firecracker going off, but it was good enough. Now Beltre lines one to right, but Bautista able to move to his right and make the grab. That'll do it. But Prince Fielder, first time up tonight, went yard. And after a half inning of play, the Rangers lead it 1-0. Lead. Now Tom's going to tell you about the Amica Toronto Blue Jays starting lineup.
Well, it's a good starting lineup, that's for sure. Jose Reyes leads it off. He's the shortstop. Josh Donaldson is the third baseman, followed by the right fielder Jose Bautista. Edwin Encarnacion, the cleanup hitter, will hit fourth. Chris Colabello is at first base, followed by the catcher Russell Martin. Ezekiel Carrera is seventh in left field. The center fielder is Kevin Pillar, and batting ninth, the second baseman Devin Travis.
And Nick Martinez going to work with a fastball to Jose Reyes and just misses. Our progressive scouting report. Nick needs to, as he's been saying, get back to being attacking the hitters, being aggressive in the strike zone, and establish that command of the strike zone early in the game. If he does that, this Toronto order can become very aggressive early in the count. And that plays into Nick's hands, but he has to establish strike one and strike two first. Here, 2 balls and no strikes to Jose Reyes leading off, a .272 hitter. He is a switch hitter, the shortstop for the Blue Jays. And Martinez with a 2-0 pitch. 3 balls, no strikes. Reyes missed time on the disabled list earlier this year. He's only played, as a result, in 44 games. 3-0 is outside, a 4-pitch walk. And Jose Reyes is aboard. Take a look at the Rangers defense tonight, as presented to you by DeMontron RV. Outfield this evening, Arua in left, Martin in center, and Shin-Soo Choo is in right. Moreland at first, Odor and Andrews up the middle, Beltre at third, and Robinson Chirinos behind the plate, taking care of the 24-year-old right-hander Nick Martinez. Oh, Nick, not the way he wanted to start with a 4-pitch walk, but now he will try and bear down and get Josh Donaldson, one of the hotter hitters on the Blue Jays lineup. The middle of this order is just about as prolific as you can imagine in the American League, with Donaldson, Bautista, Encarnacion, Chris Colabello is a .343 hitter. So it has been something to behold when they get in gear. 1-0 pitch coming. And that's out of play to the right. Blue Jays gave up a pretty large bevy of players for Josh Donaldson. Most notably Kendall Graveman, who the Rangers saw a couple of days ago pitching for Oakland, and also Brett Lowry, along with a couple of others. But they've gotten their money's worth, they feel, with Josh Donaldson. Chopper foul, and very quickly Nick able to come back and get ahead of the count. A ball and 2 strikes.
Yeah, one thing I think the A's were going to be facing with Donaldson is the potential for a rather large contract coming up. And they got some younger players who won't be able to demand that kind of contract. More numbers. And they were willing to give up the 1 star for what they hope will become quality young players. And Lowry's having a pretty good season. Started off badly, but he saw him swinging the bat pretty well at the Grand Slam against the Rangers in that 3-game series.
Nick Martinez gets the sign and sets. Ray has a pretty good lead at first. And Donaldson rifles one to center field. That is a base hit. Reyes will stop at second. He had to hold up momentarily, make sure that Leonys Martin wasn't going to get there. But the leadoff walk followed by a single. Now there are 2 aboard with nobody out for Jose Bautista.
A hanging breaking ball right in the center of the plate. Donaldson pounded that ball into right center field.
A 2 on with nobody out. Jose Bautista. 15 home runs, 50 RBI, right in the middle of that Toronto order. He's hitting just .251, but showing signs of late of starting to turn things around, at least as far as his batting average is concerned. Martinez's first pitch to him is inside for ball 1. Bautista, even though he's 0 for his last 10, still started swinging the bat a little bit better of late. He's reached base in 30 of his last 33 games. Lays off the breaking ball, and it's 2-0.
Bautista is one of those power hitters in the middle of the lineup that you respect because of the eye that he has at the plate. Leads the league with 53 walks. 3 times in the last 5 years he's walked over 100 times. The other 2 times he was hurt for a lot of the seasons.
That ball is belted to left field, hooking down the line and going foul. Bautista, who has already left the yard 15 times this year, came within about 20 feet of making it 16. Off the facing of that third deck down there. That's big man's territory, and that's exactly where Jose Bautista regularly goes. Now 2-1. He went around, says Angel Hernandez, the home plate umpire. It's 2-2.
He swung.
Hitters never think they swing, and pitchers always think they swing.
Yeah, that's, on those kind, it's definitely the case. It doesn't feel, when you check your swing like that, like you've swung. And you watch it and you go, wow, a little farther than I thought it was.
Lays off that slider, and the count now is full.
There's a good example of what we're talking about, his eye at the plate. That's a tempting slider that so many right-hand hitters will swing at. Bautista last year walked 104 times. 2011 he walked 132 times. Doesn't swing at those kind of pitches very often.
Nick, a long look in as a series of signs given out by Robinson Chirinos. A little inside move to make sure Reyes wasn't taking off.
They don't like that move in Toronto.
No, they didn't. Normally they wait until about the 5th or 6th inning after a few throws and moves like that. Maybe they just got started early this afternoon.
They were ready for that one.
Now the payoff pitch. Inside, ball 4. That's going to load him up.
such a hard thing to pitch to Bautista because you saw where he hit the foul ball 400 feet down the left field line. You know the power that he has, so you have to be careful. And then at the same time, he's a difficult guy to get to chase a pitch a little bit out of the strike zone. Very difficult to face him, especially with men on base.
You know, this is where the catcher, Robinson Chirinos, has to go out and really take charge of Nick Martinez. You get the feeling, at least I get the feeling, that Nick is kind of living with that first walk that he gave up. And by that, I mean that's sticking in his mind, saying he's kicking himself for walking Jose Reyes before the big guys came up. Well, there's nothing you can do about that now. Now you've got to get yourself back together, limit the damage as best you can, and go after Encarnacion. And ball one inside.
Trying to get that sinker on the inside part of the plate, run it in on the fist, and he's gotten it in there 2 or 3 times. They haven't swung at it, though. Been a little bit off the plate. Donaldson laid off one. Encarnacion laid off of that one. You swing at that pitch, it's a little dribbler to the left side of the infield.
Check swing strike as Nick got the call on the inner part of the plate. And the count is even at 1-1. Encarnacion hitting at .238 this year. 14 home runs, 42 RBI. He's got the bases full of Blue Jay teammates and nobody out here in the first. That ball is ripped to center field. Leonis Martin going back. He's at the track. That ball's gone. And Encarnacion with a grand slam turns the first inning around.
Well, they're the highest scoring team in baseball. They've got guys throughout the lineup that are good hitters. Extra base hit kind of guys. They can hit the ball out of the ballpark, and they will make you pay for pitches that they can handle. And there's been a couple of off-speed pitches that have stayed up. Donaldson drilled one to center. Encarnacion stays with that breaking ball on the outside part of the plate and drove it to the right side of center field. A couple of walks and a couple of hard hit balls.
Now Chris Colabello going after the first pitch from Nick Martinez. And Adrian Beltre takes care of that for out number 1. Encarnacion got a breaking ball that stayed up, out over the plate. He is extremely good when he's able to extend his arms. It's his 15th home run of the year, and the grand slam makes it a 4-1 Toronto lead. That for Encarnacion, his 7th career grand slam. Now Russell Martin takes the pitch for strike 1. The Rangers, it's the second grand slam they've given up in the last 3 days that have been to the first inning. Lowry hit one the day before yesterday. Pitch outside. Came off Wandy Rodriguez in that middle game against the A's. And now Edwin Encarnacion goes deep. Pitch outside. Martin has the advantage in the count at 2 balls and a strike. Martin at .271. He has 10 home runs and 35 RBI. Blue Jays now as a team with 94 home runs this year. And ball 3 misses. Oh, Nick really having trouble establishing that strike early in the count. Russell Martin hitting 6th will be followed by Ezekiel Carrera. Hard hit ball. Elvis to his left comes up with it nicely. That's out number 2. Yeah, Carrera will be next. You know, I'm going to mention early in this ballgame too, watching balls hit during batting practice on this new turf. This is brand new field turf that was installed prior to the season up here. It's really a lot slower than any turf I've seen, and certainly a lot slower than the turf that was here. It's thicker. It's got a different kind of padding, and the ball, well, I guess you call it a nap on the turf. Nap is so heavy now it hasn't been used that much that we saw balls grounded through the infield that stopped about halfway in the outfield.
And all those little rubber pellets down underneath the grass anytime there's any kind of a ground ball, you'll see them pop up in the air in clumps.
0-2 to Carrera. Martinez back to the plate. And a little tapper foul. It's still no balls, 2 strikes. So Nick Martinez, 26 pitches here in the first inning. And started off poorly for him with a leadoff walk and then the grand slam home run 3 hitters later. Trying to get out of it without any further base runners. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Carrera, a home run, 16 driven in, batting at .302. Got him swinging. Well, Nick able to collect himself and retires the side butt. The Blue Jays strike for 4 on 2 hits and nobody left. After 1, 4-1, Toronto. And upper reserve tickets. Plus, the first 15,000 fans 14 and older get a Hawaiian Rangers shirt. That's courtesy of Fox Sports Southwest. Visit TexasRangers.com. Use the code 777 to get your tickets today. Well, Rangers now playing catch-up after a 4-1 first inning. Toronto coming out on top. Mitch Moreland starting things off in the Rangers' second. It's 1 ball and 1 strike. Mitch, a .302 average with 9 home runs. That's second on the ball club. 35 RBI, also second. Both of those to Prince Fielder. Fielder now with 12 home runs, 48 RBI after his first inning clout. Here's Prince. Burley back to the plate, and Morgan pops it up. Second baseman Travis coming on in to make the grab. 1 gone.
The Buzz, you're talking about Mark Burley and the fact that he pitched for 14 years and never had a season where he had less than 200 innings pitched, and what a great stat that was. The other thing that you love about him, especially when there's concern about speeding the game along, is no pitcher works quicker than Burley, and they've pretty much quantified that the last couple of years. It took him an average of 17 seconds last year between pitches. That was the fastest in the big leagues. And this year he sped it up to somewhere around 16 seconds between pitches.
Man, I've got to think a lot of that was just speeding up the guys hitting against him. I think Burley's always working as fast as he possibly can.
Yeah.
He's something.
He'd work quicker than that if the hitters let him.
He would.
But when you look to a veteran to try to emulate, I don't know why you wouldn't look at Burley and see the success he has working quickly between pitches.
He misses inside to Elvis. 1 ball, 2 strikes. No, and you talk to the guys that play defensively behind him, and they say, they just love it. You know the ball's going to be put in play. He doesn't strike out a lot of people.
You don't daydream.
No. It almost sounds like that the fielders get into a rhythm right along with him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's plenty of times you'll be out in the outfield with a slow pitcher and you'll be saying to yourself, come on, throw the ball. You're saying the same thing the fans are saying, the same thing the announcers are thinking, and you're his teammate playing defense behind him. And as hard as you try, you just don't quite have the same level of concentration that you would if you don't have those thoughts playing behind a guy like Burley, feeling like the ball could be hit to you on every pitch.
And Elvis shooting one out of play down the right side. Still a 3-2 count. Our Kubota power stats talking about Mark Burley. Last 5 starts, he is 2-0 with a 2.13 ERA. That primarily because the Toronto Blue Jays haven't scored him many runs. But he loses Elvis here on a rare walk when he's ahead. And Elvis down to first with 1 out. Rougned Odor will be next. Odor stepping to the plate, hitting 188. Rougned had been in the leadoff spot the last 3 ball games. He took over the leadoff spot when Shin-Soo Choo couldn't answer the bell for the first game against the A's on that last homestand. Going the other way, that's a fair ball headed toward the left field corner. Bounces off the angled wall. Elvis to third will stop there. Into second with an opposite field double, Rougned Odor. Nice bit of hitting there. Had an idea when he walked to home plate what he wanted to see from Burley. He got it and shot it right by Donaldson, the third baseman.
Sharply hit line drive. Not one of those soft flares to left field. Well, we mentioned in the pregame show that Martin was a player who had a lot of success against Burley. I think he was 5 for 7 against Burley. And here's his opportunity. A couple of men on base.
And the Blue Jays infield playing back. They will give up the run for an out. And Martin now can get an RBI with a ground out. And Martin 5 out of 7 with 1 strikeout in his opportunities against Burley. You see the defense for the Blue Jays, a step or so around to the right. 1 ball, 1 strike.
You know, the kind of swing that Odor put on Burley for that double, that's the kind of swing that would serve Leonis well from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
He's 2 for 33, and so many of his balls have been hit toward the end of the bat trying to pull it. And when you're anxious and you're struggling, that's kind of a normal thing. You're just trying to get out in front of a ball and hit it hard instead of relaxing and trying to hit the ball back through the middle. When you say that about a pitcher, Buzz, they try to throw it harder and harder instead of taking a step back and maybe throwing it a little softer to get some success.
That's a good analogy.
Similar analogy with a hitter.
Yeah,
I got to hit this harder, and you lunge and you try to pull it because it's hard to take that deep breath and say that when you're struggling.
2 balls, 2 strikes the count. Pulled on the ground. That'll get the run home. Travis able to glide to his left and throw out Leonis Martin, but in to score Elvis Andrus. And the Rangers cut the lead in half. It's now a 4-2 Toronto lead.
That's similar to what we're talking about, a pitch away that he tried to pull. In that situation with a couple of strikes, at least it's making some contact. With a man on third base and less than 2 outs in the infield back. So there's a benefit to hitting the ball. You get the run in. And it's a little bit tougher to wait on that pitch. A slider down and away, located low and on the outside corner.
0-1 the count to Robinson Chirinos, the number 9 hitter in the Rangers' order of things tonight. Chirinos batting at .213. Mark Burley trying to work a little more quickly than Robinson wanted him to. He's got Rougned Odor down there third. 0-1 pitch is a number foul to the right of home plate. It is 0-2. Chirinos 6 home runs and 25 RBI facing the veteran southpaw Mark Burley. Back to the plate is Burley and pushed off the plate. Jackknifing out of the way, Robinson Chirinos. Chirinos 3 out of 6 on the just completed homestand, 3 games against Oakland. Also mixed in a couple of walks, so he's been on base frequently of late. 2-2. Burley to the wind and call strike 3. Fastball came back to the inside corner. And that'll do it. Although the Rangers do get a run on a hit, they strand one. After 1.5, the Blue Jays 4, the Rangers 2.
Tell you what, why don't you do it? If I show up, fine. If not, go ahead without me.
Texas Rangers baseball on Fox Sports Southwest is brought to you by your Texas Ford dealer. Visit your Texas Ford dealer now for great deals on America's best-selling brand. Ford is the best in Texas. Yeah, that's. I think they're going to have to miss both of us up there.
Jim Knox did it a couple years ago.
Yeah, he did. I give him all kinds of praise for that. Down the left field line off the bat of Kevin Pillar. And it is in the corner. It's going to be an extra base hit. As Pillar into second with a leadoff 2-bagger.
Well, you talk about all the well-known Blue Jays. Pillar's not one of them, but he's just as hot as any of them. He's hit 370 in his last 25 games. He's provided a... Maybe even try to throw his glove at it there. A lot of things to the Blue Jays. He's playing center field right now. He's in the top 10 in stolen bases. On the season, he's got his average up to 268 with the surge that he's had in the last month.
Now another Toronto Blue Jay that you probably haven't heard a lot about. Devin Travis, the throw to third, not in time. Odor took a chance and could not get Pillar as he was sliding into third. So Travis is going to be aboard on the fielder's choice. Well, not a bad idea if the runner at second, in this case Pillar, doesn't bust himself going to third.
He got some help from the third base coach, who's probably telling him what to do. He got a good jump, took a good slide toward the outfield. And the problem with that is now you've got 2 men on the top of the order coming up, and you're in a real jam. It's an aggressive play, and it looked like he might have a chance, but obviously the safe one is to get one out. Make that play. It looks great.
Yeah.
I thought he had a shot when he threw it.
I did too.
Pillar's got pretty good speed.
You know, and I think playing on turf, you can't really fault the thought behind it. It was, as you said, Tom, an aggressive play, and you know the circumstances were right to execute it. But you got to give Pillar credit for hustling over to third and beating the throw.
You know, and if the throw is on the outfield side of third base, then Adrian's got a chance to make the tag.
Reyes grounds one off the glove of Moreland. The throw by Odor not in time with Martinez covering. In to score Pilar. And it is a 5-2 Toronto lead as they come right back to get the run back that the Rangers got in the top of the second. And now the challenge has been issued on the play at first. The call on the play at first. With that kind of wide angle, we'll give you a couple of other shots at it. But Jeff Bannister bouncing out of the Ranger dugout and said, "Hey, I want you guys to take a look at that. And we can't let that stand without a little bit of a review." So Ted Barrett, the crew chief, and Marcus Patillo, the first base umpire, will get the headsets on. A lot of action right there at the bag. Here's another angle.
Does he touch the bag? Let's see. Wow.
Yep.
I didn't think watching that there was any way he was out, but watching that replay he was. Watch, Nick's foot comes down before the runner does.
Yeah, if the ball's in the glove. If the ball hit the back of the glove as Nick touched the bag, he's out.
It looked like it did. It also looked like Reyes barely stepped on the outside part of the bag. Right, his foot's on the bag. Is the glove in the ball in the glove?
Looked like it's there.
Oh, boy.
Great shots. So, we will see if that is indeed an out or if it's going to go as a base hit. Now, again, the call on the field was safe. And it has to be clear and convincing evidence to the umpire in charge of reviewing the replays on this in this game to overturn the call. And we're going to get the decision, and he is out. So the call is overturned. Reyes is out. The play goes 3-4-1. And that is out number one. The run still scores. Reyes still gets the RBI. Or I should say, Reyes still gets the RBI. And the Blue Jays now with Devin Travis at second base. There is one out. It's still a 5-2 Blue Jays lead. And Josh Donaldson, who singled his first time, will step in. And the first pitch breaking ball from Nick Martinez. Strike one. Donaldson with that base hit first time up has his average at an even 300 now. 17 home runs, 46 driven in. Nick Martinez, a belt high set. And hits the outside corner. Good fastball. 0-2. Nick, the 24-year-old Floridian, came to the Rangers via Fordham University. Ahead of the count, no balls, 2 strikes. Nick looking back. Rougned Odor playing fairly close to the bag at second. He swung toward the middle of the diamond with the right-handed hitting Josh Donaldson up there. So fairly close if they wanted to try and put a pickoff play on. It is on and thrown away into right center field. To third base and stopped there is Devin Travis. And Nick Martinez will get the throwing error. Well, Odor had the play, and Nick was a little bit slow getting around and threw it behind him. A good throw, and they might have a shot at Travis at second.
Yeah, I think they would have if that ball was on the shortstop side of second base and down low. I think they had a shot at him.
Well, for the Rangers, that is their 61st error of the year. Now the infield coming all the way in with 1 out, and a 1-2 pitch to Donaldson. He is outside, 2 balls, 2 strikes. Donaldson, a solid single to center field his first time. You can see the numbers with runners in scoring position. Pretty impressive for Donaldson. Just a bit higher than his overall average, but both those averages very high. In the dirt, Chirinos, a great block as that breaking ball bounced way out in front of home plate. He smothered it. Well, the count has gone from 0-2 to Donaldson to 3-2. Martinez okays the sign, a check of third. Now the payoff pitch. Little looper down the right side. Chu charging. He can't get there in time. Donaldson with a base hit in to score is Travis. It is a 6-2 Toronto lead. And Donaldson with his 47th RBI of the year.
Well, Nick ran the ball in like he wanted to, had that movement, tied him up, jammed him. The little blooper falls in front of Chu in right field.
Well, Mike Maddox out there to try and restore some order. And Nick Martinez kind of saying, yeah, you're right. Okay, let's go. Things aren't going well, but I've got a chance here to turn it around. Take a deep breath and looking around trying to reorient himself. Josh Donaldson with the RBI and multi-hit games now. Donaldson moving up the list. He has 27. Prince Fielder, of course, leading things with 30. Jason Kipnis with 28. First pitch to Jose Bautista is in for strike one. Bautista drew a walk in the first inning. Very short lead at first for Donaldson. And Bautista, a double play ground ball to Beltre. Odor turns it over, and that will do it. So Mike Maddox went out there and ordered up a double play, and Nick Martinez complied. 2 runs on 2 hits. Nobody left. 6-2. Courtesy of Globe Life. It's your last chance to see the Rangers before the All-Star break, so don't wait to get your tickets. Visit TexasRangers.com or you can call 972-RANGERS and do it today. Well, a 6-2 Toronto lead as Shin-Soo Choo begins things here in the third inning. Chu started things off by being called out on strikes against Burley. Lines went up the middle, but right at the shortstop Reyes. One gone.
That's some bad luck there. Waited on a pitch, drilled it on one hop, looks up, thinks he's got a base hit up the middle. Whoops, there's the shift. And unfortunately, there's a defensive man waiting for it. Well struck ball, but all it is an out.
You know, we talk about shifts and the importance of making pitches. With a guy like Burley on the mound, you can go ahead and shift all you want because you know that he's probably going to make the pitches to the right area almost all the time. So the chances of shifts having a positive impact on outs for him probably much greater than for a lot of guys. Ryan Rua, also a strikeout victim in the first. 1 ball, 1 strike to him here. And that's hit softly up the middle. And Reyes, a busy man this inning. That's out number 2. Here's that cut fastball from Mark Burley. Doesn't light up radar guns by any means, but boy, he can get inside on right-handers especially with that cut fastball. Two outs for Prince Fielder. Fielder with his 12th home run of the year, his 300th of his career. A 2-out home run in the first inning off Mark Burley. We mentioned that for Prince, just his 2nd home run in the last month. He has been on a bit of a drought. 26 games now, and that was just his 2nd home run. Only his 7th extra base hit. 1-1 pitch to him. Going the other way, and this one is playable. Carrera in and toward the line a bit. Handles that, and an 8-pitch inning for Mark Burley sends the Rangers down in order. After 2.5, 6-2 Blue Jays. Live game, and following the game, fans will be treated to a spectacular 4th of July fireworks display presented by Papa John's. Visit TexasRangers.com to buy your tickets and spend your 4th with the Rangers. Edwin Encarnacion leading off the Blue Jays' 3rd inning. 2 balls, no strikes. Encarnacion hit a 2-1 pitch to dead center field for a grand slam in the first inning. 15 home runs now, 46 RBI as he takes a strike. 2-1.
Yeah, and he's headed for another big year over the last 3 years. If you take his average year, it's 275, 37 home runs, and 104 RBIs over 3 years. That's what he's averaged. And he's on his way to probably hitting 30 home runs and knocking in somewhere between 95 and 100 runs this year. That hanging breaking ball was outside, but it was about belt high. He is one of those strong hitters that hit in the middle of the lineups in baseball nowadays that can hit that outside pitch out of the park the other way.
Boy, Nick Martinez, quick as a cat. He throws out Encarnacion, one away. And let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Well, here it's the Blue Jays leading 6-2. One out in the bottom of the third. Chris Colabello, who hit the first pitch that he saw from Nick Martinez and grounded out to Adrian Beltre. Colabello, a .341 average. Well, he has been a surprise, I think, for the Blue Jays. He's really come on and done a great job. And since he joined the Blue Jays, that goes back to first part of May. He has reached base in 31 of 38 ball games.
Colabello last year started the year with the Twins. He drove in 27 runs in April last year. That's the Twins' all-time record. Didn't go too well for him after April, though. He hit 125 in May, and then he was gone. This year, got an opportunity, and so far he hasn't had that downturn. Hitting like he did in April last year for the Twins. Also a guy that signed as a free agent when he was 29 years old. Playing independent league ball, amateur ball. Very seldom do you see a kid 29 years old sign and become a big league player and playing regularly on the best offensive team in baseball.
Elvis throws out Colabello, 2 out. Yeah, Colabello had really traveled around a lot. You know, his dad played on the national team for Italy. He played professionally in Italy for a while, so Colabello kind of grew up around the game, but a little bit differently than you and I did.
Yeah, it's rare when you get an opportunity to play professional baseball in a professional organization, major league organization, when you're 29 years old.
Yeah.
So he's not a rookie. He's 31 years old. And he showed signs of it again last year for a while. Twins.
Russell Martin rounded out to short his first time. He's up there with the bases empty and 2 away. Nick Martinez missing with the breaking ball. 2 balls, no strikes. Nick, 53 pitches under his belt here tonight. Trying to settle down after a rocky beginning. Martin, a drive to deep right field. Going back is Chu. That ball's gone. Russell Martin, opposite field, his 11th home run of the year. It's a 7-2 Blue Jays lead.
Look at that home run. You see why this is a great ballpark to hit in. If you have some strength and get it up in the air, you can hit it out of any part of this ballpark. Only 328 feet down the lines. Doesn't jut out all that fast until you get to pretty much straightaway right and left center fields. So what looked like a fly ball turned out to be a fly ball home run.
A second home run tonight given up by Nick Martinez. We're talking about a guy in Nick Martinez who was among the league leaders in fewest home runs given up. And Toronto has touched him for a couple. Carrera rounds out to Rougned Odor, and that'll do it. But Blue Jays get on the board again. Russell Martin solo home run. We've finished 3. It's 7-2 Toronto. Rangers come to bat here in the top of the fourth inning. Middle third of the Ranger order, Adrian Beltre. And the first pitch from Mark Burley is in for strike one. Adrian questioning Angel Hernandez to no avail. Beltre hit the ball sharply his first time, and he lined out to right field. 1 ball, 1 strike.
David Christian is at the ballpark tonight. He wants to say hello to Paul and Nadine, his parents, who are from Azle, Texas.
A broken bat roller out to Reyes. 1 gone. I think it's safe to say that bat is not usable for anything but firewood.
No, that's just one of many that we'll see break. Change up a little bit out in front of it. Hits off the cut part of the bat and just splits it from top to bottom.
Mark Burley doing the veteran move, getting out of the way, avoiding that bat. Now 1 away, Mitch Moreland, who popped out to second. His first time, will step in. And Burley gets a strike on the outer edge. Mitch hitting at .301 after the pop out. Time called. Burley, boy, if you let him, he'll throw one about every 10 seconds. And Ranger hitters have made a very conscious effort to slow down Burley by stepping out and making sure that they're ready to hit before they get Burley leeway to start his motion. Got Angel Hernandez left hand, left arm. Umpires, for the most part, pretty exposed behind that catcher. Catcher doesn't cover up everything. And umpires frequently take as much of a beating as the catchers do. That's out of play, and the count is still 0-2. Mitch, a 3-hit game yesterday. That big opposite field home run, drove in a few. Trying to take the ball the other way again and fouls it out of play. Mitch has hit safely in 16 of his last 18 ball games coming into play tonight. He's done that at a .324 clip. A modest 3-game hitting streak going. Hit safely in all 3 games against Oakland. Burley to the wind. And Moreland rifles one to left center field. In a hurry, a dive, and Carrera can't come up with it. It's off his glove and backed up nicely by Pilar. And a great hand for the effort by Ezekiel Carrera. A vicious line drive off the bat of Mitch Moreland. He almost took a base hit away from Mitch.
Nice job of hitting by Mitch, and we've seen a lot of that from Mitch. Being able to hit the pitch down and away. Good pitch. Right at the bottom of the strike zone. And he got a lot of it. He hit it hard. Carrera gets there, dove. It actually hit off the heel of his glove. Great try.
Well, he covered an awful lot of ground in a hurry going after that thing. But Rangers and Mitch Moreland with the base hit. Rangers now with 3 hits tonight against Burley. Elvis Andrus drew a walk his first time up. Trying to take it the other way. And foul tipped it. 1 ball and 1 strike. Elvis a .243 average. Burley back to him and gets strike 2. Elvis has always enjoyed hitting in this ballpark since the start of 2010. He has been a .317 hitter here at Rogers Center. A little check swing roller didn't mean to do it, and it's still a ball and 2 strikes. Folks, want to say hello to all the folks in Korea. We understand their broadcast partner MBC Sports is sending tonight's feed to the fans in Korea. We appreciate it, and hello to all of you. We at Fox Sports Southwest, glad to have you along. 2-2 to Elvis. Mark Burley about ready to throw his 58th pitch of the night. And calls strike 3. Looks like that cutter came back into the outside corner. Burley was getting ready to leave, but somebody reminded him it still takes 3. You have to have 3 outs before you can go out of there. Now let's take a look at tonight's Coors Light Cold Hard Fact. Mark Burley, one of 3 active pitchers with multiple no-hitters. Homer Bailey and Justin Verlander. The others, we mentioned that April of 2007 against the Rangers in Chicago, and then against the Tampa Bay Rays in Chicago, a perfect game for Burley. Into the hole off the bat of Rougned Odor, but Moreland shot down on the fielder's choice. No runs a hit, 1 man left after 3.5, 7-2, Toronto. Is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Book your low fare now at southwest.com. And by the Mazda 6. J.D. Power has awarded the Mazda 6 highest ranked vehicle appeal among mid-sized cars. The group up there on top of the CN Tower, firmly strapped in, I hope. But I'm not going to find out for sure unless they come down and tell me. Kevin Pillar starts things off, the center fielder taking a strike to even the count. Pillar doubled leading off the second inning. Came around to score. Beltre able to cut it off. Sets his feet and fires one away. Nice play by Adrian. He's not able to cut that off. That's a pretty tough play for Elvis going into the hole.
Yeah, Pillar gets down the line pretty well. Pillar was a 32nd round draft choice. 320 hitter in the minor leagues throughout his minor league career. Getting the chance to play in the big leagues on an everyday basis. He's making the most out of it.
Here's Devin Travis now. Travis reached on a fielder's choice and scored in the second. Just back off the disabled. That's right, Tom.
I was just going to say exactly what you said. Travis got off to a great start and then spent over a month on the disabled list. He was one of the hottest hitters in baseball early in the season. About half the season. He's missed half the season. He's hit 7 home runs and knocked in 26 runs. That's after missing 36 games.
He took a shot off the collarbone on his right side. Didn't have a fracture, but might as well have been for the time he missed.
That was one of those trades that's worked out well for both teams. Anthony Gose went from Toronto to the Tigers. Travis went from the Tigers to the Blue Jays. Both of them are playing regularly, and both of them are playing very well. The Tigers were looking for a center fielder. Blue Jays were looking for a second baseman.
And a drive to center for a base hit. You know, Devin Travis on a 2-2 pitch. There's a 1-out single. Jose Reyes next. Well, our T-Mobile game changer, Max Scherzer's at it again after 2 of the best starts, back-to-back starts in the history of baseball. Here he goes again. Through 4 innings. Now going into the 5th, a no-hitter against the Phillies. Scherzer, 18 innings of work coming into play tonight. His last 2 times out, he has allowed 1 hit and no runs and struck out. What was that, 21 that he struck out? 26 that he struck out. I think you could say he qualifies for being hot as a pitcher.
Yeah, he is officially the most dominant pitcher in baseball.
The only reason he didn't have a perfect game last time was because he hung a slider inside to Tabata, who took it off the elbow. Didn't really dive out of the way of it, but enough that he was hit.
Yeah, he didn't dive into it, so he didn't do anything wrong.
Jose Reyes for his 3rd at bat of the night. He has walked and also grounded out, but he had an RBI. So Reyes now with 24 runs driven in. Hitting with Devin Travis at first, 1 away here in the 4th inning. Changeup floats outside, 2 balls, no strikes. Well, Nick really trying to discover what would work for him tonight. His command has been kind of hit and miss so far this evening. He's had a couple of stretches where he's retired 3 or 4 hitters in a row and then run into more problems. Good off-speed pitch there. Back-to-back changeups. 2-1.
It looked like a good fastball to hit. Only it wasn't a fastball.
Clocked about 7 or 8 miles an hour, being what the fastball was supposed to be.
Backbreaker.
Two and 1 to Reyes. Jose Reyes, a switch hitter up there from the left side, pops the pitch straight back and out of play. And it's 2-2. Reyes hitting an even 270 as he faces Nick Martinez. Jose Reyes came back into the lineup May 25th, just about a month ago. Since then, he's hit 282. And he's gotten hits in all but 5 of the games that he's played in. 3 balls, 2 strikes now. Reyes trying to get aboard to join Devin Travis. Josh Donaldson waiting to be next. Travis stepping off a pretty good lead this time at first. He's on the move. Payoff pitch is outside, ball 4. Reyes walks for the 2nd time tonight. 2 on with 1 out, and Donaldson coming up.
Yeah, Reyes is a pretty free swinger. He's not an easy guy to walk. He's only walked, I think, 9 times coming into this game. He walked on 4 pitches to lead the game off. That kind of set the stage for a big 1st inning. He walks again here in the 4th inning. Probably not many games where he's walked twice in a game.
Robinson Chirinos, a frequent visitor to the mound tonight. He's back out there again, trying to redirect the focus of Nick Martinez. Donaldson 2 for 2. A pair of singles, an RBI, a run scored this evening. Average now up to 302 for the Blue Jay 3rd baseman. Martinez with the pitch. Leaves the breaking ball inside to Donaldson. 1 ball, no strikes. Donaldson, among the league leaders, he is 1st in total bases, now with 157. Pulls that pitch foul. He's 3rd in extra base hits, 5th in times he's been on base. 7th in home runs coming in, and 7th in slugging in the American League. Pretty much a good cog in this all-around offensive machine that Toronto has assembled. Now Nick with a 1-1 pitch. Hot shot picked out of the air by Rougned Odor, who will step on second for the double play. And that will do it as Nick Martinez gets a line drive twin killing. No runs, a hit, one left after 4, 7-2 Toronto. th on the Cholula porch at Globe Life Park, and will honor several members of the Texas Rangers Baseball Hall of Fame. Log on to texasrangers.com/luncheon for information and get your tickets for that great event today. Leonis Martin starting off the Ranger fifth inning, trying to bunt his way aboard. It is down, but Donaldson charging down the line throws him out, one away.
It was a pretty good bunt, but unfortunately Donaldson anticipated it. He was playing in. He's creeping in. He sees the bunt. He's charging and turns it into an easy out. It really was going to be a very difficult one to beat out unless he dented even more. Bunted a little bit too hard based on where Donaldson was playing.
So Martin back to the bench 0 for 2, but he does have an RBI tonight. And Robinson Chirinos will be next. Chirinos called out on strikes in the second inning. And Burley deals strike one. Chirinos with the average currently at .212. As you can see, 6 home runs, 25 driven in. And he hammers one deep but foul down the left side. Mark Burley has allowed 2 runs on 3 hits tonight to the Rangers. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Robinson, one of the guys trying to slow Burley down a bit. Now he's ready to go. The 1-2 pitch. That ball is ripped deep down the left field line. It is hooking and foul.
That ball was in fair territory for a lot of the way down the line, but he had a lot of right to left on that one and just hooked it in front of the foul pole. One before it, he pulled a little bit more foul than that. That one's getting closer. Banged off the back of that wall too. That ball was smashed.
Yes, it was. So still 1-2. Donaldson across the diamond. 2 gone.
And so Burley sees both of those balls pulled like that and throws his tailing fastball outside part of the plate and gets the hitter to hit the ball off the end of the bat and pull it to the left side of the infield.
And now back to the top of the Ranger order, Shin-Soo Choo, who is 0 for 2. Choo, a strikeout, a ground ball to short. And that really is kind of a misnomer when I say a ground ball to short. He hit a rocket up the middle on one hop to the shortstop Reyes, who's playing just a step or so toward the first base side of second base. More like a shallow center fielder. Inning by innings, Mark Burley. Only the second inning did he have an inordinate number of pitches tonight. Left-hander back to the plate with a 1-2. To his right, Travis throws and gets it. 1-2-3 inning, second time tonight that Burley has sent the Rangers down in order. We're halfway through the game with the Blue Jays leading by 5.
A beautiful and cosmopolitan city. It's a very clean city, a very upscale city. When I go to these places, I try to find places to tell our viewers about, and I usually find restaurants, and some of the places I've found over the cities are dives. This probably qualifies, but look at Kaplansky's Delicatessen. What a great place to go eat. If you are ever in this city, you need to go to Kaplansky's Delicatessen. It's a classic New York delicatessen, and there it is inside. And then when I go there, I just eat and stuff myself. And the first thing I ate today was an appetizer. And we see the swing and the miss there. The appetizer you got to get is the sausage knish that's in a smoked meat gravy. It's unbelievable. It's delicious. That is just the appetizer. They specialize, guys, in smoked meats there, not unlike what we do in Texas with the barbecue. So then the sandwich has to be the smoked Rubenesque. They've got this beautiful corned beef that is smoked and stacked and piled high. And then the piece de resistance, as we see the walk there. Nick Martinez issuing another walk, this time to Jose Bautista. There's the piece de resistance. Those are the bacon maple beef donuts. Now, they had me at bacon, but look at those things. They are spectacular. That's real bits of bacon. There's some beef in there. There's powdered sugar and then syrup drizzled all over them. Guys, I'm telling you,
wow.
That's the reason to go to Kaplansky's right there.
Wow. You sold me.
How far is it from the hotel?
1.2 miles. I walked it to and from. When you eat like that, Tom, you got to walk it, don't you?
At least walk home, that's for sure.
I walk both ways just to be safe.
Wow. That was impressive.
Nice going, John. That's great. Appreciate you finding that place. Good report. We've been lucky to get some great reports.
Between Emily and John,
yeah.
We've seen some pretty good-looking food on the road.
You can either stay in the ballpark, depending on what park you're at and need, or you can go outside the park, as we found out. Something else. Jose Bautista walked to start off the inning. And, he has at first now 0-2 the count to Edwin Encarnacion. Encarnacion, that grand slam in the first inning, grounded out in the third. And that's out of play. Back behind home plate, still 0-2. Now Nick, still not himself on the mound tonight. He has walked 4, including the just issued walk to Jose Bautista to open up this frame. Now the right-hander is ready. He will drive Bautista back. Nick, 81 pitches through 4 innings plus 1 hitter. One ball, 2 strikes. Encarnacion starting to turn things around a bit of late. He is 18 for his last 58. That's a 310 mark. He's gotten the average up to its current 240 level. And takes that pitch outside, 2-2. The Blue Jays, not unusual to see them draw a walk. They have the best on-base percentage of any team in the American League at .334. Third best batting average at .267 coming in. And Encarnacion's going to add to that as he rifles one into center for a base hit. First and second, nobody out. Chris Colabello coming up. Before we tell you about him, let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. Well, Blue Jays making noise again. They have their first 2 runners aboard, or first 2 hitters aboard here in the 5th. Chris Colabello, 0 for 2 with a couple of groundouts. Bautista at second, Encarnacion at first. And Colabello rifles one to left center in a hurry. Leonis Martini can't get it. It's off his glove and to the wall. Bautista will score. Encarnacion being waved around. Here comes the throw. They got him at home. Over to third goes Colabello. But the Blue Jays do score a run, and they have Colabello at third with just 1 out. Nice relay throw in from Elvis Andrus to nail Encarnacion at the plate.
Yeah, that's one thing the Rangers do as well as any team, and that's to cut off in relay plays. Nice try by Leonis. Couldn't quite get to it, but he hustles after it, makes a strong throw to Elvis, who turns and fires a strike home, and that's an easy out at the plate. Couldn't quite get to it, but got up quickly, and that allowed them to make the play at the plate. Didn't make the play, but made a nice play to get Encarnacion trying to score.
Well, the putout goes 8-6-2. Cut down Encarnacion in to score Bautista. On to third, Colabello, a double, an RBI, and he went to third on the throw in to the plate. Now, with Russell Martin at the plate, the Rangers will pull the infield all the way in. They're trailing 8-2. You need to cut down any additional damage is paramount. 1 ball, no strikes to Martin. Russell Martin went opposite field last time up for his 11th home run of the year. Now 11 home runs and 36 RBI for the Toronto backstop. Breaking ball hangs inside to him. It's 2-0. Nick trying to find the answer, trying to find something he can hang his hat on that he feels will work for him pitch after pitch, and it's just not been there for him tonight. Martin, a towering drive to center. It's going to stay in the ballpark. It's going to be deep enough, however, to score the run. Martin makes the catch. Colabello tags and trots home. And the Blue Jays have put 9 on the board. It's 9-2 Toronto.
Yeah, it's one of those games where the good pitches Nick has made, a lot of them have been a little bit out of the strike zone, and the Blue Jays, especially Bautista, have laid off him. And then when he's missed, he's got the ball up, and like that last pitch in the center of the plate, the hitters are just too good to miss those on a consistent basis, and those are the balls they've hit hard. They've been a little bit too far out of the strike zone to tempt the hitters, or a little bit too good in the strike zone, and they've been hitting them.
And the first pitch to Ezekiel Carrera is outside for ball one. Carrera 0 for 2, a strikeout and a ground out. 1 ball and 1 strike. 296 the average for Carrera. Nick into the wide, the 2-1 pitch. Now 2-2. You might remember Carrera from his time in Cleveland. Came up with the Indians in 2011. It's a 2-hopper that's backhanded by Elvis. And on to Moreland for the out. That'll do it. But Blue Jays add 2 more. They get 2 runs on 2 hits. Nobody left. After 5, 9-2 Toronto. $1,600 and dinner for 2 at Sonic Drive-In. If a Ranger hits a home run during this inning, David Kelly from Farmers Branch, Texas, will win $1,600. And if a Ranger hits a grand slam this inning, David will win $25,000. You can register at any participating Sonic restaurant. Ryan Rua, the number 2 man of the Ranger order to start things off. It'll be Rua, Fielder, and Beltre. Rangers trailing 9-2. They have been out hit 8-3 by the Blue Jays. Rua, a little pop foul down the first base side, back into the seats, and it's 0-2. Ryan tonight has struck out and grounded to short. Mark Burley has retired the last 5 that he has faced, and that little looper into center field is going to fall for a base hit. Well, Rua starts the 6th inning by singling to center. And with Prince Fielder coming up, now about our AT&T U-verse rewind for you. Back in the 1st inning, Prince Fielder launched his 300th career home run. This went off Mark Burley into the Rangers bullpen out there. And Prince Fielder, one of the magic milestones for any hitter, 300th home run. He was going for 301 there. Maybe 302.
300 would be a magic milestone for a lot of us in our dreams.
Prince at 345, and Burley pulling the string. Now has an 0-2 advantage.
Burley's one of those guys, you don't have the slightest idea where he's going to throw it or what he's going to do to you.
Now, he has a lot of, as they say, tools in his toolbox.
He does.
That
Imagine
pitch.
if a guy like Burley threw 95 miles an hour.
Yeah. They would have to have another league up higher.
Although I guess that's kind of what Pedro Martinez was.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, no one had a better changeup than Pedro.
Right.
Very few people had a better breaking ball. Not too many people had better command. So as good as Burley is, he's not quite knocking on the door of that league.
No, but you threw 95 in there, he would be.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
2 balls, 2 strikes to Fielder. Ooh, he waited on that very nicely, and the breaking ball hanging up there. And I think Prince would like to have that one back. So still 2 balls and 2 strikes. Rule on with the leadoff single here in the 6th inning. Martin has to block that ball, and all of a sudden the count is now full. Well, Prince trying to get aboard to join Rua. Adrian Beltre, the Ranger third baseman, will be next. Rangers need some base runners and some base hits with runners in scoring position. Payoff pitch. Double play ground ball to short. The second, back to first, the double play. Six, 4, 3, and the bases are empty with 2 away for Beltre.
Well, there's sometimes when the shift is on with Prince, depending on where the base runners are, where that ball would ground into the outfield for a base hit. Pretty standard defensive alignment that time.
And Beltre into right center field. Long run in for Pilar, and he makes a diving catch. What a play by Kevin Pilar, coming in center field, in right center field. A full headlong dive. And the Rangers are gone thanks to some great D, the double play, and then a great play by Pilar. 9-2 Toronto. They all happen in one place. Don't miss the 86th All-Star Game on Tuesday, July 14th, only on Fox. And don't forget to visit TexasRangers.com/vote to send Fielder, Beltre, and Moreland to the game. Now Nick Martinez starting his 6th inning of work. He deals to Kevin Pillar, who had that great diving catch to end the top of the 6th inning. So the old baseball axiom in full force here. You make a great defensive play and you lead off the next inning.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal when you've got your 8th place hitter hitting .439 in the last 10 games, .370 in the last 25 games, making diving catches in the outfield, stealing bases. I mentioned Pillar earlier. He was a 32nd round draft choice. Hit .300 every step of the minor league way. Both stops in A-ball, rookie league, AA, AAA. Got a chance in the big leagues and cashing in on it right now.
And Ellis Andrews throws him out. That's how the 6th inning gets underway for the Blue Jays. Next will be Devin Travis. Well, Nick, you kind of tell by his facial expression he's not real thrilled with what's transpired tonight, trailing 9-2. But doing what he can to help the ball club out, and that's stay out there and keep the bullpen from having to be overworked.
Finished strong with the 6th inning, and when you consider how the game started, walk, single, walk, grand slam.
Ross Detweiler out there. Sorry, Tom.
In there battling, doing the best he can on a night where just not making the pitches like he normally does.
1 ball and 1 strike.
Against a tough team, too. It's not easy pitching against this team in this ballpark. Or anywhere else for that matter.
Yeah. Shin-Soo Choo. That is out number 2 and back to the top of the order. Now they are no day at the beach no matter where you are. Matter of fact, he'd probably give you a tough time on Christmas Day with a wiffle ball. So these guys swing the bat. A 2-up, 2 away here in the 6th, and Jose Reyes comes up for his 4th time at the plate tonight. He's walked twice and grounded out. That one ground out, though, plated his 24th RBI of the year. And a strike on the outer edge. Nick trying to do something now that he has not been able to do the entire night. That's retire the Blue Jays in order in an inning. 0-2. Nick just over the 100 pitch mark, 103 with his next offering. Yeah, and you would hope that somewhere in these last few innings, Nick has found something, a feel or a thought that has produced the right results. There's a base hit to right. That has produced something that he can repeat in the time that he works between starts, that he can kind of hang his hat on, so to speak, that will counteract what happened in the first couple of innings. Mike Maddox certainly will talk with him about it, try to get him to come up with something that he can work on specifically and that he can repeat between in the bullpen between starts and then his next time out there that will improve things. A 1 on, 2 out. Here's Josh Donaldson taking inside for ball 1. Donaldson 2 for 3 tonight. A pair of singles, an RBI, and he has scored a run. Blue Jays after Reyes base hit. Now 9 hits this evening. Donaldson lashes that foul. And the count is even at a ball and a strike. Our Fox tracker showing you that last pitch. Down and in, the reason he had jerked that one way foul. Pretty tough to find an at bat where Josh Donaldson doesn't turn at least one swing loose. Well, he is up there hacking. Martinez a check over his shoulder at first. Now the 1-2 pitch. Call strike 3. Donaldson knew it. Nick with his second strikeout. Blue Jays gone. No runs on a hit. 1 left. After 6, 9-2 Toronto. Early in the proceedings, Prince Fielder with his 300th career home run got the Rangers on the board against Mark Burley. But that was a short-lived lead as in the bottom of the first, Edwin Encarnacion, his 7th career grand slam. That made it 4-1 Toronto. Then Russell Martin added his 11th home run of the year, an opposite run shot. That was in the third. The Blue Jays have just gone on to score at will tonight. They lead 9-2 as the Rangers come to bat in the top of the 7th inning. Mitch Moreland leading things off, and he takes strike one from Burley. Mitch tonight a single and 2 trips, hitting at .304. Burley pulling the string. It is 1-2. Mark Burley just 83 pitches to this juncture. Does not waste any time at all. He is on top of the mound ready to work. Got Mitch on the fists. And it's still a ball and 2 strikes. Moreland, a career .324 hitter against Toronto in 22 ball games. That's the 6th highest average among active players that have a minimum of 75 at-bats. 5 home runs, 14 RBI in the 22 ball games. Just off the outside corner. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Mitch trying to get aboard to start the Rangers 7th. He'll be followed by Elvis Andrus. Burley to the wind, the payoff pitch. Slowly hit down to first. Right at the bag. Colabello has it. 1 gone. Well, Burley, as always, able to throw something other than a straight fastball on a fastball count. Even 3-2, you can't really look fastball all the time against him. Pretty tough.
He just looks like he can throw every pitch for a strike. He doesn't. Some pitchers are locked into a fastball because they have to throw a strike, and that's the one pitch they feel like they can throw a strike with. Burley just looks like he can throw any of his pitches for a strike. And when he doesn't, he's probably not trying to throw a strike.
Elvis 0 for 1, a strikeout and a walk. He loops one into shallow center. And Pilar had to hold up. Travis was going out there in a hurry, and at 9-2, he might not have tried it, but Pilar looked like he was thinking about coming in and diving for it, too.
You know, they used to have turf in Toronto a while back, where on a ball like this, you had to either decide you were going for it or lay way back because the ball would hit and just bounce way up in the air and go over your head. On this turf, it doesn't look like you've got the same problem.
Yeah.
The ball doesn't bounce as high. It's a lot softer.
Ugnet Odor takes ball 1. Yeah, here and before this place opened over to Old Exhibition Stadium, that turf was the same way, very bouncy like that. The ball would bounce over your head in a heartbeat. Ugnet lifting his arms, letting that pitch pass by. It's 2 balls, no strikes.
The Rangers didn't have a lot of luck in the old days in that ballpark, which led Mark Holtz to call it the Voodoo Palace.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. A
Yeah,
little bit chilly over there, too. You had a couple days over there where it was cold, didn't you?
Yeah. Well,
I never saw the booth over there. What was the booth like over there?
booth was wide open.
Was it?
Yeah, it was just a big wooden box that was about 30 feet long. It had no glass in it. There's ball 4, so Odor draws the walk. It had no glass in it. It faced due north, so that when the wind blew out of the north and the snow flurries flew, it came right in the booth. Nothing to stop it. I think that's as cold as I've ever been. I'll tell you how cold it was. It was a lot colder than the night we had in Wrigley Field.
Oh, boy. Yeah, that was pretty cold that night. My coldest was in Milwaukee. Back in 1995, I think it was. Right early in the season. In fact, one of the games in that series was called because of the temperature. I think it was down in the low 30s. And the games we did were in the 30s. I don't know if they were mid-30s or high 30s with a little bit of a breeze. Those were the coldest for me. That day in Wrigley was really cold. Fortunately, I missed the Voodoo Palace. Saw some games up there, though.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a case of whatever could go wrong did, and in spades up there, too. Liam Hendricks getting loose in the Jays bullpen.
Well, we're sitting in the press dining room, and they've got a lot of memorabilia from past Blue Jays teams. The pitch right there got Leonis looking, and you forget the quality of some of those teams that the Blue Jays had back then. They had some great players. We're reminded of the one season where Alomar, Molitor, and Olerud were the top 3 average hitters in the league. They had the top 3 hitters in the league all batted 1, 2, and 3 for Toronto that year. The back-to-back World Series champions. The outfield with George Bell, Jesse Barfield, Lloyd Mosby. Yep. You look to their right fielder, he had the best arm in the league. Look to their center fielder, he could run them down. Their left fielder played solid left field and was one of the best power hitters in the league. Then they had Tony Fernandez and Roberto Alomar up the middle, and John Olerud at first. It was unbelievable what kind of team they had.
Yeah,
they had Cy Young winners.
0-1 the count, and Chirinos right off the end of the bat out toward Reyes. Shortstop charges, throws, gets it. Rangers gone in the 7th, no runs a hit to our left. We'll take the stretch in Toronto with the Blue Jays leading the Rangers 9-2. Baltimore play 4 against the Orioles. That'll finish off the month of June and take us into July. Then it's back home. The last homestand before the All-Star break. Rangers will face the Angels, the Diamondbacks, and the Padres. Angels in for the 4th of July weekend. Now we go to the bottom of the 7th inning. Ross Detweiler has come on to take over for Nick Martinez. Detweiler, his 14th outing of the year. And this will be his 7th relief appearance. We last saw Ross in yesterday's ball game, worked an inning of scoreless relief. On now to face the middle of the Toronto order. Jose Bautista takes ball 1. Bautista a couple of walks tonight against Nick Martinez. 2 balls, no strikes. Nick walked 4 this evening in his 6 innings of work. 9 hits, 9 runs. They were all earned. Check swing foul, 2-1 the count. Excuse me, 8 earned runs. The official scorer did not allow a run that scored in the 2nd inning as earned. And that's fouled straight back. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Bautista, along with the 2 walks, grounded into a double play. Detweiler winds and back to the plate. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Well, Ross, since he has gone to the bullpens, only had 1 walk in his previous 6 outings. Popped up down the right side in foul territory. Long run for Moreland. And Mitch right in front of Brugnet Odor. Stays with it nicely. That is out number 1. It'll bring up Edwin Encarnacion before he steps to the plate. Let's send it back to Dana Larson for a Mazda game break. All right, Dana, thank you. I'm surprised he's still in the game. He's got to be taken out after giving up 2 hits, doesn't he?
Yeah.
He is
someone warming up.
He has set the bar a little bit high. There's a drive high and deep to left field for Encarnacion. He has hit his 2nd of the night. 10-2, Toronto. Home run number 16 for Encarnacion.
Well, both Bautista and Encarnacion got off to relatively slow starts this year. They've obviously been heating up a little bit. They got a lot of help around them, too, in front of them and behind them. Pitch near the middle of the plate. In fact, right in the center of the plate. Encarnacion hits it and likes what he sees.
3rd Toronto home run of the evening.
It's like posing on a drive that you hit perfectly. Hold that pose.
Not for too long.
I wouldn't know how to do that. I've just seen people do it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
I've seen that on TV.
Talking from personal experience or anything.
Chris Colabello at the plate. 2-0 pitch to him. 3 balls and no strikes.
That's a good question. Now, how would you classify this, Buzz? You're the pitcher. Is this too long or?
Well, this is in slow motion now. You have to see it.
All right, we'll see if we can watch it in regular motion.
There's a strike.
Here's real speed.
Okay. Yeah, that's a little too long.
Is it too long for you?
Yeah, for my taste it is. And you can start running down to first and still watch.
And still look at it.
Yeah.
But you got to drop the bat and start moving toward first.
Yeah, I kind of prefer that.
See, as a hitter, I don't have much of a problem with it, but I'm not the one out there throwing it. I think a pitcher and a hitter would tend to look at that type of thing a little bit differently.
Well, yeah, I think pitchers feel like, at least act like you've hit a home run before, like this wasn't the first one of your career. It's going to be on TV later on anyway. You get a good look at it then.
You can slow it down, watch it in slow motion, watch it over and over. That's a good point. I never looked at it that way.
Well, you were a hitter. You weren't a pitcher, so.
I don't think, correct me if I'm wrong, that the hitters watched them back then, did they?
No.
Maybe Reggie?
No. Yeah, very rarely, though.
But I don't remember guys watching it.
No, Reggie would watch the big ones. From what I remember.
Like the third one in the World Series.
Yeah, he kind of posed for that to make sure all the photographers got their stills out of it. But that was about it. That was about it. And then you had to wait so long to get retribution. You had to wait till the next year to get him back. You'd forgotten about part of it. Russell Martin tonight has homered and a sacrifice fly, 1 for 2 officially.
I don't think you ever saw the bat flip back then, did you? Boy, bat flip, that might have got you flipped for sure if you ever bat flipped, then went up there the next time. Right. That wouldn't have served you well in your next at bat.
2-1 pitch. Now 3-1. So after the Encarnacion home run, Ross Detweiler walking Colabello, who's fallen behind Martin. 3 balls and a strike. Ball 4, back-to-back walks. 2 aboard. Ezekiel Carrera coming up. And Mike Maddox going out there and give Ross a little breather, see if he can't find his timing, find his rhythm a bit, and throw a few more strikes. Well, while we have a moment here, I'd like to remind you that you can join the Texas Rangers Baseball Foundation and Medical Center Arlington on Labor Day. It's the 4th annual Rangers Labor Day race. You can enjoy a scenic 5K course that finishes on the field, or you can bring the whole family for a fun 1K run. Visit TexasRangers.com/race to sign up, but don't wait. Registration fees increase on July 15th. A 2 on with 1 out. Ezekiel Carrera 0 for 3 tonight, a couple of ground outs and a strikeout. Left-hander against left-hander, and Detweiler fires strike 1. Carrera a 293 average. Ross a check of the runners and back to the plate. That home run, by the way, by Encarnacion, the 9th home run issued by Ross Detweiler this year. Good pitch in on the fist. 9 home runs in 39 innings. He's gotten out in front of Carrera, though. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Detweiler a long look in as Chirinos goes through a series of signs. Now the left-hander has one. Ouch. Spinner down to third. Beltre, bare hand throws, not in time. Well, that ball just eaten alive by the handle of the bat for Carrera, and the slow turf, that first bounce, it almost backed up. Not much Beltre can do.
After getting the first guy, it's been kind of rough going. Home run, couple of walks, and that's not much to look at right there, but it's an infield hit that loads the bases with 1 out.
No, bases full of Blue Jays. Kevin Pillar up for his 4th at bat of the evening. Breaking ball. It nibbles on the inside corner for strike 1. Pillar a double and a run scored back in the 2nd. Simpson has grounded out twice. Detweiler still working from the stretch with the bases full. 1-1. Blue Jays now with 11 hits tonight. 10 runs on 11 hits for Toronto, 2 runs on 5 hits for the Rangers. The Blue Jays tonight 4 out of 7 with runners in scoring position. Up the middle. Elvis dives, knocks it down. That's the only thing they'll get out of it. In to score, Colabello. An RBI infield single for Pillar. It is 11-2 Toronto.
Boy, when you're going good, everything turns out right. Ross gets the little dinky ground ball to third, a little dribbler up the middle. Both of them turn into base hits.
So the bases remain loaded. A couple of runs across in the inning. Still just 1 out. Devin Travis is the hitter. Travis 1 for 3 tonight. Takes a strike at the knees. Travis with 1 career grand slam to his credit. Detweiler back to him. 1-1. and Travis is 24 years old, out of Florida. He was a Florida State baseball player. Pitch fouled out of play. Very good all-around athlete, as a matter of fact. Went to Florida State and then signed after being drafted in 2012. Selected by the Detroit Tigers in the 13th round of that 2012 draft. 1-2 pitch. And that's in the dirt. Nice stop by Chirinos. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Travis traded over to the Toronto Blue Jays by Detroit in exchange for Anthony Gose.
That you could make a training film out of, Buzz, blocking that one.
Technically pretty good, huh?
Sure was.
Martin at third, Carrera at second, Pilar at first. Call, strike 3. Fastball on the outside corner. Angel Hernandez, kind of a slow ring up of that right hand, but it was strike 3.
Technically, that's a strike right there, touching the outside corner. Perfect pitcher's pitch. Right on the corner. Travis didn't like it. If I were a hitter, I wouldn't like that either. But when you look at the replay of it, you can't fault Angel Hernandez.
No, with 2 outs now, former Ranger Justin Smoke comes off the bench to pinch hit for Jose Reyes. Smoke, of course, the switch hitter. Spent a lot of time with Seattle trying to stay in the big leagues.
I hope they let him replace Reyes at shortstop, too. That'd be fun to watch.
You know, somehow I don't think that's going to happen. It might. It might. Smoke a 245 average. He tops one out to Elvis. On across the diamond, that will do it. But the Blue Jays add on 2 more runs on 3 hits, and they leave the bases full. On to the 8th we go, 11-2, Toronto. Through Thursday, that's July 30th. Great seats are still available for the 4-game series. Just visit TexasRangers.com, or you can call 972-RANGERS and get your tickets for that 4-game set with the Pinstripers. Well, Mark Burley's night is finished. He goes 7 innings, gives way to Liam Hendricks. Hendricks, the big, tall Australian out there. Hendricks, 26-year-old from Perth, Australia. This is his 28th appearance. He's a 2-0 record. The league hitting just .226 against him. Hendricks, you might remember from his time with the Minnesota Twins, came up with them in 2011. Spent a bit of time with Kansas City and Toronto last year. Justin Smoke staying in the ballgame. He will not be playing short. He will be playing first. Ryan Goins is going to take over at shortstop. Well, Hendricks to work, and Shin-Soo Choo with his 4th at bat. Down on the count here, one strike. Choo, a couple of ground outs and a strikeout against Mark Burley. High and tight. Choo now hitting at .230. He has been having a pretty good offensive scuffle of late. Had difficulty since that hot streak in the month of May. June has not been as kind to it. Choo hitting just 191 in his last 18 games. 2-1 pitch. Now 2-2. Month of June, here are the numbers you're talking about. Just 1 home run, 9 RBI at just a .228 average. Hendricks with a 2-2 pitch. It's popped up to the left and back into the seats. Choo now with the 0 for 3 tonight, just 2 for his last 21 times to the plate. Rangers just 5 hits against Mark Burley. Now Liam Hendricks on to begin this 8th. Another foul ball. The Blue Jays bullpen, if you can point to an Achilles heel, it would be the bullpen for Toronto.
Yep.
They just have had a devil of a time all the way through the bullpen. It's hasn't been just 1 or 2 weak links, been the whole thing.
Yeah, if they can get their pitching straightened around, then they're an obvious contender. And even now, with the bullpen the way it is, they're only 2 games out of first place.
Right.
That big winning streak they had got them right back into contention. I don't think anybody's going to go play them in a 3-game series at home or on the road and feel overconfident when they face that lineup.
No, that's a 7 deep, maybe 8 deep lineup. If they go down that far, they can give you some fits.
So if you're a pitcher like R.A. Dickey, who we just showed, you feel like you go out there, pitch 8 innings, give up 4 or 5 runs, you got a chance to win.
To the right side, nice play by Travis. Throw, and they got him. Dug out by Justin Smoke at first.
Well, he planted and almost waited a little bit too long to make his throw. He's got a strong arm for a second baseman. It might have been a little bit easier to play that ball on this slow turf, too. You could see that those rubber pellets kick up when that ball hit the ground. And Travis plants and comes up with a strong throw. A little help from Justin Smoke, and he just did nip Shin-Soo at first base.
Ryan Rua, 1 out of 3 tonight. Had a single to center his last time up. Liam Hendricks fires a strike. Well, Rua now with that base hit has his average back up at the Mendoza line. Hendricks back to the plate. Hendricks with that good live arm that we saw in Minnesota, also in Kansas City briefly last year. A lot of folks have projected him to be a starter no matter where he's been, and it just hasn't worked out. They feel like now that he might be a better suit for the bullpen.
Yeah, I don't remember him throwing that hard
I don't either.
As a starter. So maybe he's one of those guys that, is 89 to 92 as a starter and mid-90s as a reliever.
Kind of like Davis or Hochaber with Kansas City.
Yeah.
Good big.
In fact, when I saw that 96, I had to look him up in the media guide and make sure it was the same Hendricks I was thinking of. I may be wrong on that, but.
No, I agree with you. 1-2 pitch. Now this, what I remember of him was a fastball and a fairly hard slider. You know, like his fastball, but a moving fastball more than velocity.
Yeah, I don't remember velocity either. But if you watch Wade Davis as a starter, you wouldn't see 96 or 97.
Yeah.
And that's what you see now when he comes out of the bullpen.
Well, the Rangers forcing Hendricks to throw a lot of pitches in this inning. Next pitch will be his 15th. And he had a long at bat with Chu up there, and Ryan Rua doing the same to Hendricks. Right-hander sets. Got him swinging. Ryan had second thoughts, but it was too late. Two gone.
That's one of those velocity strikeouts right there, top of the strike zone. Have to make up your mind a split second quicker what you're going to do with that pitch when it's coming 96 as opposed to 88.
Well, here's Prince Fielder. Fielder 1 for 3 with that home run in the first inning. Going the other way, and he's got another multi-hit game. That is down in the left field corner. Prince digging for 2 is in standing. Fielder with his 31st multiple hit game of the year. That is the most in baseball. His 18th double of the year to go along with it.
Well, one constant for the Rangers from day one has been Prince Fielder. Seems like he's been hitting between 340 and 350 the whole season. Never dips below it, never goes above it. Gets one hit one day, 2 hits the next day. Good at bats, one right after the other.
No, with Fielder at second and 2 outs, Adrian Beltre's night has come to a close, and Hanser Alberto has come off the bench to pinch hit. No doubt will stay in the game to take over at third. So Hanser Alberto is the hitter. Alberto, 269 average, no home runs, 3 driven in. That's out of play. 1 ball and 1 strike. Adrian Beltre finished the night 0 for 3. Hendricks leaning in for the sign. The right-hander sets at the belt. And a chopper to third. Donaldson on to smoke for the out. Rangers are gone. Prince Fielder left stranded after his double. Bottom of the 8th coming up, 11-2 Toronto. On the mound. Yeah, you're right. Don't adjust your TV set. That is Adam Rosales. Jeff Bannister figuring that 11-2. Maybe Adam can go out there and get us 3 quick outs and get us back in here. The 9th position player to pitch for the Rangers. Adam Rosales on. And he's facing Josh Donaldson. 1 ball, no strikes.
Their ace on the position player staff would be Mitch Moreland. They're not going to use him today.
He's the closer on the position staff, isn't he?
Mitch is one of those guys you could put him in a game, and if you didn't know who he was, you'd think he was a bullpen pitcher.
Sure would. Boy, Josh Donaldson just got fined in Kangaroo Court, making the first out against a position player. And let's go down to John Radigan.
Yeah, Buzz, we want to remind you that tomorrow will be game 2 of this series. For the 4th Saturday in a row, the Rangers will play a day game. It'll be tomorrow. You see the early start time at noon Texas time. Rangers Live comes your way at 11:30. Mitch Moreland with still very good career numbers here against Josh Donaldson and the rest of the Blue Jays. And it's AT&T U-verse that reminds us to remind you about tomorrow's game, guys.
All right, John, thank you. Well, Danny Valencia now is going to come up as a pinch hitter. And he pounds one to left field. Way back, that is gone. First pitch to Valencia sees from Adam Rosales, and he hits it in the seats. 12-2, Toronto.
Jose Bautista saying, why didn't I get that at bat? I'll say this for Adam. Adam has a perfect batting practice pitch. Right straight over the top, straight as a string, and about 80 miles an hour. If you were throwing one in a home run derby, that's what it would look like. And that's his job. That's exactly what he should be doing out there.
Edwin Encarnacion, a towering drive to left field.
Stay in the park.
Brewers has a chance to make the play and does right in front of the Blue Jays. Bullpen out there. Rosales kind of chuckling about things. Now he's able to keep Encarnacion in the park. Encarnacion already with 2 home runs tonight and denied a third by Rosales.
I didn't look. Was he posing on that one?
I don't think so.
Boy, if you pose off an infielder, that's really bad.
Yeah, that would be.
Look at it. He's throwing perfect strikes, isn't he? Nice and smooth, 84 miles an hour.
Ryan Goins, the hitter. And he pops this one up in foul territory.
Tossed him a changeup. Pitch before was 84. That was 69.
Yeah, he got him off his fastball.
Yeah.
Now, if he puts a little wrinkle into one, I'm really going to be impressed. Goins a .223 hitter. A couple of home runs, 23 driven in. Took over for Jose Reyes at shortstop last time. Gets one down to Alberto. Hands are across the diamond. That will do it.
90 miles an hour with that fastball. He pumped it up with his last one.
A run on the home run. 9th inning coming up. 12-2 Toronto. one hit.
You know what? After he gave up that home run, though, he mixed in a changeup and upped his ante from 79 or 80. He popped that last fastball at 90 miles an hour.
He just wanted to let folks know that he had something left.
Had a little bit more in the tank than I showed you. In case I ever face you again.
Rob Rasmussen now the left-hander on the hill to face the Rangers here in the top of the 9th inning. Mitch Moreland looks at strike one. Rasmussen at AAA Buffalo this year, 21 ball games for the Blue Jays affiliate. 1-1 to Mitch. Moreland 1 for 3 tonight. Mitch had a 4th inning single. Rasmussen, a 26-year-old from Pasadena, California, and Mitch rips one off Goins and into left field for a base hit. Well, that was a bullet that was slicing and sinking at the same time.
Yeah, I think he thought he was going to catch it in the air and bounced right in front of him and ate him alive.
No, Mitch, be a pinch run for now. Joey Gallo has come into the ball game to take over running at first for Mitch. Mitch still bothered by some leg soreness and lower back soreness, and get him off the turf. Jeff Bannister giving him the last part of this night off. Elvis Andrus, a base hit in 2 official trips tonight. Outside, 2 balls and no strikes. Rasmussen ready. A line drive hit deep to left field. Going back is Valencia up against the padding. I should say against the wall out there in front of the Blue Jays bullpen. He puts it away. Elvis gave that a pretty good ride, but came up just a bit short.
He needed to get it up in the air a little bit. Might have been able to get it out of here. Low fastball. Good swing. Hit the ball with authority to left field. I would have hit a third of the way up that wall.
A one away. Now Rougned Odor will come up. Odor 1 for 2. He has doubled and walked tonight. Also grounded into a fielder's choice. There's Rasmussen fires strike one. Rob Rasmussen, originally selected by the Florida Marlins in the 2nd round of the 2010 draft. Traded over to the Astros along with Matt Dominguez in the Carlos Lee deal. Then went to the Dodgers, on to Philadelphia, and finally traded to the Blue Jays winter before last. And a swing and a miss. And Rougned Odor gone. Out number 2. Well, Leonys Martin will get his 4th at bat of the night. Leonys 0 for 3. Couple of groundouts and a strikeout. One of the groundouts producing a run, his 23rd RBI of the year. Strike one from Rasmussen. Left-hander with the next pitch. A ball and a strike. Leon is trying to snap an 0 for 14 that he is mired in. Popped up down the left side. Is slicing into foul territory. And out of the reach of Josh Donaldson. A ball and 2 strikes. A crowd of 25,821 on hand tonight. Just a little bit less than the 26,000 or so that the Blue Jays have been averaging this year. And most are rising to their feet. Rasmussen with a 1-2 pitch. Line drive into the glove of Ryan Goins, and that will do it.